It's been 5 minutes since we said the world's open world. So the next open world news item is the Tomb Raider's going open world. How's that grab you before we dive into this?
More conflicted than I was about Resident Evil, but I think it does make sense. The more I dwell on it, the more I'm like, right, I can see it.
I want to delve into, did you play all 3 of the most recent Tomb Raiders?
I didn't finish the last one, but I played it. Yeah.
Right, so I didn't finish Rise. I played 2013, adored it. Thought Rise was cool, but I didn't like how more open-ended Rise went. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I hated Shadow, but that was mainly because I thought the tone was all over the place. They were still doing is it really Lara? Is it really the Tomb Raider? And then that final boss was horrible. A lot of the mission design I thought was terrible. It was a bit of a rocky trilogy. And Rihanna Pratchett left after the first one anyway, even though she was like helming the whole sort of reboot of Lara and everything. But my point is that when they went wider in Rise, that felt like a step towards what Tomb Raider could be, where it's like you take the sort of what Uncharted would then make it its own, like Uncharted 4 Lost Legacy has those semi-open world spaces, and you're just like doing a bit of archaeology or exploring in those spaces. That could have been Tomb Raider's new identity.
Yes.
And they kind of missed it. And it's like, we said before about Resident Evil, when someone says, "Oh, hey, this franchise is going open world," and it's like, I'll read some detail.
Come on,
because there's some stuff in here. So the actual leaker is V Scooper. No, I've never heard of V Scooper before.
No.
The various outlets are reporting this as well, or writing it up anyway, talking about Tomb Raider going fully open world, mentioning from V Scooper that the next Tomb Raider will be fully open world and set in India, featuring vast sceneries, free use of the motorcycle, parachute, and Lara's common traversal methods to unrestrictedly navigate across a big map and its challenges. They mentioned factions on the map as well, and taking them out in different ways, and that you have options in regards to non-lethal takedowns, which reminds me of Angel of Darkness, because you could do little choke takedowns in Angel of Darkness.
Underrated, by the way.
I don't think that's true. That's not a thing that people should say in a public space.
Sorry to interrupt you, but know how we're 6 years apart or whatever it is?
Yes.
And we have that slight generational difference.
You like Tony Hawk's 3? I like Tony Hawk's 2.
Precisely that.
Yes.
I like Angel of Darkness. That was kind of my growth. I was the perfect age for Angel of Darkness. I was like, right, this is Tomb Raider grown up. And I enjoyed the game, Scott. I really did. I needed to get that off my chest.
As well you should. I got it when, I forgot what year that came out, but I got it that Christmas. And I tried to force myself to like that game. I like the aesthetic. I like the idea of Dark Lara. That was the whole era of dark sequels.
Yeah.
Like Jak and Daxter or whatever. But yeah, that idea of taking the sort of trademark elements of Tomb Raider exploration. When V Scooper says Lara's common traversal methods, I just think of swan dives. So climbing and swan dives and sideways jumps, I guess.
Some of the items she got in the recent trilogy, perhaps the ice picks, where
pittons.
You climb it up. Yeah. There's some stuff there.
You can do some stuff there. I just that idea of how do we make Tomb Raider relevant again, and then trying to make it a head turny or whatever. There is a way that you could combine, do a much bigger platformer kind of thing. Tomb Raider always had that verticality sensibility, which hasn't really been done by anybody else. We're kind of overdue a really good open world platformer that has that sense of tactility when you're exploring.
100%. I can see a lot of perspectives who will look at this leak and say, of course they're going open world. Open worlds are in. Open worlds will apparently never leave. Of course, this is another iconic franchise going down that route. But at the same time, I almost think they're damned if they do, damned if they don't, because if they stay to the more linear path, they're always, no matter how good they are, going to get compared to Uncharted.
Yes.
We probably will get another Uncharted at some point, and you're going to never avoid that comparison. And to many people, Uncharted was their first for this specific reinvention of Tomb Raider, and has more money, more spectacle, and just does it a little bit better. So if I was developing this game, which I never should, don't put me in charge of any franchise ever, I'd be worried about constantly living in that shadow. What can we do to differentiate ourselves? And like you said, Rise of the Tomb Raider sort of showed us this a what if for the franchise, kind of blow this stuff up, make it more freeform, make it more play driven while maintaining, the really good mechanical side of things. And although Uncharted has tiptoed into that area itself with the Lost Legacy. It hasn't committed to it fully. So if Tomb Raider can get there first, it'll feel different, I think.
My thing is like Shadow had those open spaces as well. I just remember like landing in a different way with Rise because I liked how authored 2013 felt, like that new version of Lara. Like I said, Rihanna Pratchett was on board at the beginning, and I really love that game. Like the whole survivalist side of her, like she's throwing up as she's killing her first person or whatever. Like there's a kind of grounding to the character there, which I guess is only going to be resigned to that trilogy.
Yeah.
Because there was the whole like Anniversary, Legacy, Underworld trilogy as well, which I love. Like that to me is perfect Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Like I like 2013's one a lot and elements of the most recent trilogy, but the level design and the gadgets and the combat, like slow motion flips with the twin pistols. Like to me, like if you're gonna reboot Tomb Raider again, and there's versions of Lara out there in like Fortnite, and there's some official artwork I think for this that's already been put out there. Or there was some official art out that was doing the rounds that looked more like her 90s costume. If you're gonna do that again, you stick to the tenets of the character that made her so cool, even if it's 90s retro cool. The twin pistols, the backflips, you indulge in that, you make it fun to play like that.
Yeah.
Like you're doing a little face there.
No, I don't mean to dismiss what you're saying because I definitely see the appeal of that. I wonder if there's a way to do both.
Probably.
I wonder if there's a way to maintain the element of cool, the element of fun, but keep a sense of character and keep a sense of character depth. Because my issue was the Tomb Raider trilogy, the most recent one, kind of continued. It almost became a parody of itself in terms of how Lara was presented. Like you said, we had that origin story like 3 times. It felt like she was a bit one note, so I felt like while you might call the older Lara one note, this almost got to the same territory on the opposite end of the spectrum where it was like too somber, too gritty, too something. So I kind of want it to meet in the middle where you kind of have both elements, make it that fully rounded character, keep a compelling story, but don't veer away from the spectacle and the fun and the bombast of those older games. My
thing is like Lara as a design obviously is really iconic, and I was just looking at there's a game called Tomb Raider Reloaded, which is just the Tomb Raider version of Vampire Survivors. It's like an auto fire, whatever we're calling that genre. But the version of Lara in there is like the one that's in Fortnite. It's like the classic Lara. I think in Fortnite you can get the 2013 one as well. But it's like that whole question of like, to me, Lara Croft and Tomb Raider is so old now that it's iconic. It's Mario, it's Master Chief. Like you can remix it and do something new if you want, but it's also completely fine to just double down on the classic look and the classic personality that Lara has. Like she was quite sarcastic and darkly humored, and she was a great character to play as. There's obviously the sex appeal side of it, but she had a great personality too. And like that was always a way bigger deal anyway.
Yeah.
That was way fun to play as Lara and talk to people and mess with the butler and stick him in the fridge or whatever. Like you can do way more with that character as this like aged veteran explorer who's like putting up with a certain amount of obstacles in her way. Like to me, I would rather they double down on the writing, almost take a page out of the way Jill Valentine's done in Resi 3's remake.
That's a great template.
Like really make her like a character you love playing as. Because I didn't love playing as her after the 2013's Tomb Raider. I just thought that she was back and forward so much on in Rise and Shadow of like, oh, this is the real Tomb Raider coming out. And it was the bit when she comes out of like the water in Shadow, and it's, I don't know if you got that far.
Where she's like covered in blood.
And I was like, what is this? The end of Blade 2?
I like that.
It's a cool shot.
Yeah.
But like, how's that? I mean, I don't know. That was such a weird beat where I was like, it's kind of bad. But then she's like, just melee takes out a bunch of dudes, and she's like, hench. And I was like, do a hench Tomb Raider?
Oh, that'd be cool.
But you got to double down on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this long after this many different versions of Lara, like I, in a way, would welcome them just doing a traditionalist version of Tomb Raider, because there hasn't been a throwback, like straightforward version of her in a while.
No, 100%. I guess for me, it's what are they trying to do with the franchise at this point? Are they content? Are the publishers content with doing a Tomb Raider, for lack of a better term, or do they want Tomb Raider with the recognition that comes with that franchise, with the respect, with the cultural cachet? Do they want it up there leading the industry? Are they wanting to, and by that I mean, are they going to make it in line with the rest of the industry in a way by saying like, we need it to have this big story, we need these big cinematics, we need it to be a $200 million production? I'm not saying that's right.
I think that would kill it.
I can see them chasing that, definitely, 100%.
Well, my thing is like, I only played one so far, but the remastered collection that came out the other month, like Like that was such a reminder of how simple those games were. Like obviously you've got the craft manor that you can explore, and then like the mission design is just you're just trying to find a relic, and then it's like those games always shined in the level design. So I'm up for them stripping it all the way back. Like you get the there's like a snow speeder, you get the bike and stuff in those old games anyway, and there's boat sections, there's vehicle sections in those games, so you can use that to stitch together different you know, platforming gauntlets kind of thing. But it just has to have that core identity.
That's
like
it.
No one's doing good 3D vertical space exploration like the Gone Home game, not Grow Home games did. But playing those remastered games, I was like, no one's doing this. Where you're mastering a 3D environment and really climbing really high.
I just wanted to maintain that sense of personality that you mentioned there, that identity, whether that's going back to the 90s games or whether being more in vein in the 2013 game, but just make it feel like Tomb Raider. My worst case scenario for this reboot and it going open world is that it feels like a third-person Far Cry.
Right.
I don't want it to feel like a third-person Far Cry because I can see that outcome plain as day, because it's that I just think the ideas are so similar in that regard. Like Far Cry, lest we forget, has a lot of traversal in it. Like it has that first-person platforming. It has that, to a degree, 3 and 4 especially, has the idea of mastery of a space, and like you're in this, you know, tropical land, this unknown land, and you're getting to grips with it. You're becoming the master of the jungle, as it were.
Totally.
And I don't want Tomb Raider to just devolve into that, because in getting away from Uncharted, it might just become an Ubisoft open world, and I hope it's way more focused and retains that element of level design that you mentioned.
Yeah, and like, I wonder if they've taken this long to do an open world Tomb Raider because the likes of Breath of the Wild or Immortals Phoenix Rising proved that you can do a climb anywhere open world game.
Yeah.
Like no one's doing that other than the Zeldas. Like that idea of just taking open world space and you can literally climb up anything, and various survival elements to get you up different surfaces and hide rewards up cliffs. Like it should feel exciting to look at different 3D structures, but I'm going to conquer that.
Yes, that's 100%. Like, to me, I think it's a perfect way to incorporate the titular tombs.
Yes.
You know, people complained about the lack of those in the reboot trilogy, and I totally get it. But I think like an open world almost provides the perfect sandbox to implement those naturally. Like imagine like stumbling across something and then you realize it's this labyrinth of, that would be like a classic old school Tomb Raider tomb, and you get lost for hours and you just stumble across that idea of exploration, that idea of, you know, really excavating something. I think it could translate well if they commit to the bit.
Yeah, and there was like various caves in, I think in Shadow as well, but I remember them in Rise, where you could go off the open world bits and go down into some more curated area. Shout out to Jusant as well, which is a really cool climbing based game from last year.
Really want to play that.
Which is all about where you plant your pittons and like the way how that affects your momentum when you swing and everything. Like doubling down on climbing mechanics could be like the thing, like that would make Tomb Raider work.
That's it. Like, you know, we've had games like Tomb Raider, we've had games like Uncharted, but like you said, you know, we haven't really seen innovation in that space in the AAA sort of zone. Like all games that have parkour kind of feel the same.
Yeah.
All games that have, you know, wingsuit kind of feel the same. Traversal is stagnated, I think. And honestly, the last big sort of innovation I can remember is Uncharted 4 introducing the rope and the winch. It's like, that was nearly 10 years ago. Like,
totally.
If Tomb Raider comes back, I want to see it innovate on those traversal mechanics. You know, do something else with the ice picks. I'm not saying go full Death Stranding, but take a leaf out of that game's book and make just getting around the world feel like something. I don't know, something different.
It should feel like you're conquering a space, like, because I hate the traversal in the Horizon games. I forget that it's the Zero Dawn and the other one. Just such a, you will stand exactly here, you will jump exactly here and whatever. And it was just such a way of making an entire world feel like a set of tracks that I'm going to be going on. But like you did Death Stranding, you could conquer any of that environment and watch the game freak out as you try and put a ladder on the side of some part of it, but you can get up there.
Yeah.
And, like that can feel great. But yeah, we'll see. Like so far all we have is a part of a leak, but it's detailed enough and it seems to be getting enough traction that this seems to be the next main Tomb Raider.
I feel like we're going to see it sooner rather than later. They've been working on it for a little while. It was announced a couple of years ago at this point. I know the developers, they are still part of Embracer Group at this moment in time. So I think Embracer is going to kind of double down on this as one of their big franchises alongside Lord of the Rings. So I would expect to see something before the year is out. Maybe that's just a quick trailer, a logo reveal, whatever it is, maybe a shot of Lara herself, but I feel like we're going to see this soon.
It is about time.